Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So today we are going to be talking about a project that we've worked on last year. We're talking about this project right up here, and what I want you to notice is, hey Natty, thanks for joining. Today we're going to talk about the addition that we did. It is 22 by 12 foot 6 inches, so about 300 square feet. Hey Arif Khan. So this addition was 300 square feet. It's 22 feet along the side. It has a brand new bathroom in it. This is perfect ensuite. This customer decided they needed this ensuite because was getting old their mother was getting old, and they needed to um, create a room for her. So this is like the minimum size, minimum perfect size. Give this to your mother, please. Tell her to call Henry. Um, and what happens is, what we have here is an addition, 22 by 12 foot 6, so about 250 square feet. And this is about $100,000 in total cost. And what you'll notice about this is we have a bathroom, a full bathroom. We're talking a full bathroom, which is a little bit small. It's only about 7 feet wide, which you can see right up here. It's only about 7 feet wide here and 8 feet. However, it has a shower in it. It does not have a bathtub in it. He decided he didn't want to have a bathtub, so he just put a shower, simple sink, and a toilet. And this is what it looks like on the plan view. By plan view, this is like we're looking at it from the top. We're looking from above at the plan from above. So you're looking from about 80, 100 feet up into the air. And as we look on here, the things that we see are, you see these little dots right here? Those are the field sales. What that means is those are the sales where the rebar goes in during construction. And you can see here that there's a idea for a patio here in the future. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through what this looked like and how we built it. So this is the first part that we did. So first let's look at what it's going to look like. If you look on the set of plans, this right here was what the build was supposed to look like when it gets done. So this is a basic addition, 22 by 12 foot wide. If you guys have any questions, this is an addition we're talking about here in South Florida, how to build it, how much it costs, all the sequence that it took to make it happen. So if you, hey Willie Bay, if you have any questions about any portion of this addition, how to build it, what it cost, where it is, what the pitfalls are, let us know. This is a 22 by 6 ensuite addition onto a house. The existing house is about 1,300 square feet. They added a master ensuite for the mother-in-law. It's called like a mother-in-law suite, where it has everything that you need. It's separate from the house, had a separate entrance that she could go into, doesn't have to go through the house to go inside the room. So it's private, yet it's secure, small, and perfect for your mother-in-law or your father-in-law, as the case may be. So this is what it looks like. Has a window on the in wall here. This is a bathroom window right over here. You'll notice we have a bathroom window over here on this side, and then it's a flat roof. And they chose a flat roof because the existing house had a flat roof too. So it was a lot easier to put a flat roof here. And also, in general, flat roofs cost so much less than a regular roof. Okay, so flat roofs cost so much less. So it's because you don't have to build the trusses, and it's typically a simple system on a flat roof. Hey, billionaires, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you as well. So if you put trusses on One, it's harder to put the trusses on, so it takes a little bit more skill. So it costs a little bit more because it actually creates more square footage. So you have more square footage to cover when you're doing your shingles or your tile or your you're gonna do that or your shingle or your tiles as well. So the next thing you'll notice on here, so this is what it looks like. It's flat roof, and now let's review a little bit about how we got here and what it takes to get here. So to get to this stage right here, this is the excavation stage. And what you'll notice is, one, we removed all of the vegetation in the area. First, you have to get a guy with a bobcat to come out and remove the all the vegetation. That's required by building code. You have to remove the first 6 inches of soil and vegetation. The reason that is if you don't remove that first 6 inches of soil and vegetation, then what'll happen is over time the grass will grow right up through your slab and it'll start cracking. So the most important thing to start with, remove that 6 inches of vegetation. And when you do, what the plans generally say is you have to bring in more dirt and more fill, which is called clean fill. You got to bring in clean fill when you're doing this. So you'll see here in the middle, this is all clean fill right here. So all this area here in the middle, this is clean fill. So after you bring in your clean fill, the next thing you need to do is put in your forms. Now, these forms here are fairly simple and straightforward. You can't really get any easier than a monolithic form. By monolithic form, that means all of the concrete for the slab is poured at one time. That's monolithic. That means, hey, monolithically, we're going to pour it at one time. It also means you are putting in your rebar at that time. Hey, Mac YOLO, send us an email at coordinator@macbeth.com to apply for a construction job. If you're in another country, let us know, and you can join our WhatsApp to learn about construction, just away from TikTok, but also the everyday parts of being in construction as well. So when you're putting in the slab, this is a monolithic slab we're talking about, and let me show you what the monolithic slab looks like on the set of plans and what that means in terms of how the build needs to happen. So if you look here, this is your slab right here. See, it says 4-inch concrete slab with 6 by 6 by -1010. That's wire mesh. That's welded. That WWM stands for welded wire mesh. Over 6 mil visqueen over clean sand fill, compacted in 6-inch lifts, and a minimum 95% compaction rate. What that means is when you bring in your fill, the clean fill that you need to bring in, you also have to tamp it. You have to tamp it down and get that tamping tested. That test, it's called a compaction test. Okay, so the compaction test is what you'll need to give to the inspector when you have your slab inspection. So I'll tell you a little bit about when that compaction test comes. And first, let's look at this monolithic slab. So if you look right here, this is what it means by being a monolithic slab. It means all the edge and the rebar is tied into the existing 4-inch slab that we have along here. So what that means is you're going to pour that all at once. Now that we've seen how it looks on the plan, let me show you what it looks like in real life a little bit. So if you go back here to the first page, this is what it looks like in real life. You have your form boards going all the way around. You'll notice these are used form boards. You can use form boards multiple times, many times over. So as long as you keep them clean. So one of the most important elements of doing the forms is having the stakes on the side. You'll notice it's 12 feet across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We put these stakes about 18 inches apart. Would a drain pipe be required under the slab, Brian? No. This is a regular slab. We are going to install the drain, and I'll show you that next. But for this, you want to have this ready. This is what I call plumber ready. If you look at this, this is plumber ready. Because when you go in next, if you look here, this is all of the plumbing's already been done. If you look here in the back, you'll see our drain pipes right here. These are drain pipes. These are drain pipes right back here. And these are the drain that go under the ground. Now, there's an important element when you're putting in your drain pipes, and that is you need space around the toilet, so that you can put your sleeve on. And if you look right over here, you'll see this little blue there's a little blue section that's right around that pipe right here. I don't know if you can see it, but if you can see it, there's a little blue tape. And what we did was just put cardboard there with a little blue tape, wrapped it around. So when we pour the concrete, all we gotta do is take that off, and it's easy to manipulate that toilet a little. Because what you're gonna need is, you're probably gonna need, maybe, if you didn't measure perfectly, you might need to move it 1 inch one way, 1 inch another. It's much easier to do that if you put that sleeve around there. Okay? So that's everywhere where you have a pipe coming up out of the wall, coming up from the slab. You'll notice right here in the middle, this is the toilet and this is the stack. Now, in South Florida, an interesting thing about the stack is typically the stack is 4 inches. Sometimes it's 3, but typically on a house, you're gonna have a 4-inch stack. So that's a pretty big diameter pipe, right? It's a pretty big diameter pipe. So when that stack goes up, you're going to need to put that stack in the middle of your concrete block. So your concrete block guys, they are going to block up to left and right of it, and then you're going to need to fill it. You either got to fill with foam or concrete later, but that's an important element. Another thing you need to remember is always put your clean out. If you see here, there's a little clean out right there as well. So let's look at the elements of this slab, and I'll explain to you where they are on the set of plans as well. So first, let's go back to the set of plans real quick and look at that slab. This is the slab. So you'll notice it says 6 mil visqueen. That's that black plastic you see on the dirt. That's that black plastic. Next, it says 6x6 1010 WWM. That's welded wire mesh. So if you see it says 6x6 1010 welded wire mesh over 6 mil visqueen. So that means the visqueen goes first, then over that you put your wire mesh. And that visqueen goes over your compacted soil. Also, if you look here, you see these two rebar. See, there's a rebar right here, and then there's an L-shaped rebar that comes up. And that L-shaped rebar, if you look right here, it says it's a number 5 vertically in grouted sails each side and on openings 36 inches or larger. So let's look at that in real life before we actually did it. So if you look here, all of these vertical rebar are those vertical rebar that they're talking about. And they have to be 1 every 48 inches. So typically you set it so it fits right inside the slab, inside the block. So what that looks like on the plans, I want you to notice right here in the corner here, See this corner right here? We're gonna zoom into that. You have a couple of rebar right here, okay? And they come across here, 1, 2, and there's a window right here. So, and I'll show you how we see that. If you look on the plans here, you notice this right here. You see these 2 rebar right here in the corner? See these 2 rebar right there? Those 2 rebar are those exact same 2 rebar. They're going to be the ones that go inside the slab. Okay? From the bottom slab inside the block. So they have to be positioned correctly in accordance with where that's going to be. You don't want them real tight up against the wall because you need the concrete to go all the way around them. And then as you notice here, where I have this X right here, this X right here, this X, and this X right here, that is windows. This right here, number 1, this is a window. So on either side of your window opening, no matter the distance, if it's less than 48, you don't need additional rebar. But if it's not less than 48, you will have to put a rebar on either side of the window. And this is what's key when you're reading your plan and getting your measurements. So if you look at the wall here, you have 2 rebar on this side, a rebar on either side of the window, 2 rebars on the right, and then one next to the door here that's as well. And so you need one on either side of the door, and you need them on either side of the windows because you're gonna have a lintel above, and all that the column and the lintel have to be tied in. I'll show you what that looks like next. So next we're gonna look at the actual plan here. So if you look at the plan, see these little lines right here in the middle? That is your 6x6, 10x10 WWM welded wire mesh. Yes, Jose Estrada, window sill. Exactly. So this is your welded wire mesh. When you have welded wire mesh, a couple of things you need to remember. 1, you need to have a 30-inch overlap. First off, you're buying them in these little 5-foot sections or rolls, right? If you're buying in rolls, you need to have overlap every time you put them out. So depending on the size that you get, you'll have to buy more or less depending on what that looks like, okay? Also, I'll have you notice there's a rebar right here and there's a rebar right here. These 2 rebar are the exact same 2 rebar that are in the monolithic footing. And these are all, and if you notice, these are tied off. Each rebar is tied off vertically. So when you put the rebar in, you need to tie it, measure it perfectly to land in the middle of the block. If you need to, just put the block down to make it work. Okay, if you need to, just put the block down to make it work. If you don't put the block down to make it work, just measure it off according to where you need it to be. And tie it off. Otherwise, when you pour the concrete, it's going to move. Okay? It's going to move, and you don't want it, and you don't want the rebar to move. That's why you have to tie it off. Now, these 2x4s, these 2x4s right here, they serve a dual purpose. One purpose is to hold the rebar in place as it goes along. The second purpose is to put the indentation that's required for the rebar to sit in. For the block to sit in along the edge. And this is extremely important because if you don't know how to do this, this will cost you about $20,000 to either demolish it, or it'll cost you $20,000 to either demolish it, or there's these special things you have to do to make it right. The only reason I know this is because there was this one time about 8 years ago that we did a plan and we didn't put that indentation in, and when we didn't put that indentation, we had to get a special engineer to come out and give us a solution for how to make that a waterproof joint. So, and the solution for the waterproof joint is probably around $20 a linear foot. So if you're going to make a mistake on here, you're talking $1,500, $2,000. when what you could really do is buy $40 worth of 2x4s, and I'm going to show you how to do that right now, and what you should do and what part of the plan you should be looking at to make sure you get that right. And this is the indention, the recessed line that you're going to do. So what we're talking about is this 2x4 right here. And if you've just joined us, we're talking about an addition, how we build it. Exactly, Jose Estrada, 1.5 inch recess for blocks so water doesn't go in. And on most plans, it's not even 1.5 inches. It's actually 3/4 of an inch. On this one, you can see we did 2x4, so you know it's 1.5 inches, right? Because 2x4s are 1.5 inches wide. So this is the part of the plan where it shows that. And it's really important to notice it, and that's, let me get another color here, and that's right here. There's a little indentation. I don't know if you can see that. It's as big as I can make it, but right here in the thing right here, there's a little indentation, and that indentation is what is what we're building when we are putting those 2x4s in. Okay, if you don't have those indentions in when they come out for the inspection, you probably won't even pass inspection, because the inspector is going to be like, what are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. So be sure when you're looking at it, your project looks clean and neat, just like this. You'll notice we use some blocks to hold up the rebar. You know, your rebar has to be a minimum of 1.5 inches from the bottom or the top of the concrete. Also, your wire mesh needs to be centered on the slab. If it's not, it won't be as strong. Okay, so also you're gonna need some chairs. If you think chairs are cheap, well, they are, but they're about 30 cents a piece. Some of them, the more expensive ones, are like 45 cents, 60 cents a piece. And if you buy them, I suggest you buy them by the bag, but it's also something you don't want to forget in your estimate. Okay, so things you're going to remember in your estimates. You're going to need your form boards. You're going to need either 16-inch or 2x4s or 2x6s. Here we use 2x4s, 3 of them together, to make our 12-inch form board, and we dug it into the ground. Next, you're going to need your rebar, and you're going to want your rebar to be pre-bent. Okay, you don't want to be bending long rebar. Okay. First, it's a pain in the butt. Second, it requires a special tool to bend the rebar. So you're gonna need your rebar. You're gonna need your visqueen. This particular one, 6 mil, you can get from Home Depot, but 10 mil. A lot of plans in South Florida show 10 mil vapor barrier. You cannot buy 10 mil vapor barrier the day you need it at Home Depot anywhere in Florida. Okay, if you forgot that it's 10 mil or not 6 mil, then you're going to be waiting 2 or 3 days for that order. So I suggest you purchase it beforehand. Yeah, Jay, you're right. You're going to need permits too. And as you see, we definitely got a permit because we have a full set of plans. We had a full set of plans made and constructed, and we got the permit well before we got this job started. So this is what it looks like here in the back. So at the top here, you'll see this 2x4 up here. This 2x4 at the top, that's there just to make the posts stay straight. Otherwise, they go like this. And when you pour the concrete, you're going to be pulling on those things, trying to get them back straight inside the rebar. Is going to take your block guys a few extra minutes to do it. They're going to hate you for it, and they're going to want to charge you more money for the additional labor. So putting that little piece of rebar up there might save you $200 or $300 in labor. Okay, it's easily going to save you $200 or $300 in labor. Okay, so these are the elements you need when you're doing it. One last thing that you may need, yeah, Jay, right? Those 10 mil orders, no joke. Exactly. It takes 4 days. You can't go to Home Depot and get that 10 mil plastic. Totally true. So if you need 10 mil, definitely order it. I think a white cap they actually have it for the cheapest that we have found if you're going to look for it. Next, what you're going to do is you're going to call for your inspection. At this point, you have passed plumbing underground inspection, you have passed electrical underground inspection, and maybe you had electrical grounding to the slab. This is your UFER inspection where you have to ground the panel to the rebar in your footing. Yeah, Jose was trying to. Yeah, you have to remember your rebar caps. They're not on here yet, but before our inspection, we had to add rebar caps because the inspector will want to see rebar caps. Those are the caps that go on top that they prevent accidents, and they're also expensive, so don't forget them. These are little bitty things: rebar caps, chairs. You would think in your mind, oh man, this is like $50, $100. Let's put some sundries in there. I suggest a minimum $300 to $400 worth of sundries that you call sundries, which are all the little things you need to purchase to make this work. Okay, and no matter the project, just figure $300 to $400 in sundries. If you go over 1,000 square feet, I figure $300 to $400 per 1,000 square feet. Okay, so you've already passed electrical underground. You've already passed your compaction test. They came out before you did your visqueen and they tested. They gave you a little paper that says, hey, you passed compaction test, because you're going to need that compaction test paperwork when the inspector comes out for this inspection right here. You're also going to need the surveyor to come out and give you an elevation certificate for your slab. This is really important because you probably have a finished floor elevation. Hey, fundraiser. Hey, Matt. You're probably going to have a finished floor elevation, a FFE for this project. And if you don't have that elevation certificate from your surveyor, it's something that's really easy to forget. It's also really easy to not charge for or not realize you need for this. What am I talking about? I'm talking about building an addition and all the little details that it takes to build them correctly. And right now I'm talking about what you need for your inspection. And the things I've said are, you're gonna need your compaction test, you're gonna need your elevation certificate that shows your finished floor elevation, and I suggest you have a stakeout survey, because they're gonna wanna know that you built the slab in the right spot, understanding where the setbacks are, and you need that before you pass slab inspection. Okay, so let's review this. Yeah, Dorlin, you're right. You definitely have to have a termite spray, and I suggest you do that termite spray right after your compaction test. You need to do it before you put your plastic down. Okay, so for something like this, that's about $250. In general, you can't get termite done for less than $250, and for anything that's like less than 500 square feet, it's going to cost you about $250 to get done. So it's an easy way to budget. Show fan, what are the small things to look out for to pass slab inspections that get overlooked? These exact same things that I'm talking about. Your compaction test, your termite pre-treat. You need to have all this paperwork in hand. Like, I suggest having it in a folder, looking nice and neat, nice and crisp, all stapled together. The inspector, he's gonna look at it, and if you have it really nice and neat, he's gonna go, oh man, this looks great, and pass you immediately. He's gonna come out, see how beautiful you've done this work. He's not even gonna worry about too much what the plans look like, because he's trusting you to get it done right. Because if you're not right, and later on there's a problem, it's not his problem, it's your problem. Okay? You're right. He's going to love you. He might pass without looking, huh? He's going to look. He's going to come out and going to go, yeah, that looks good. He may not look at the plans even, depending on how beautiful your thing looks and how well your superintendent speaks to him. Remember, they got about 25 to 30 inspections to do, sometimes more in a day. So they show up. They're there for 4 to 5 minutes. If your inspector is there for 10 or 15 minutes, either two things are happening. One, you have a big problem, or two, he just loves your superintendent and just loves just chatting and talking. Maybe you had donuts waiting for him when he arrived because you knew the time frame. I suggest the Krispy Kreme. Dunkin' Donuts don't go as well as the Cottonelle Krispy Kreme. Okay? You're right, Ronald. Many inspections and innuendos vary from city to city, county to county. Pompano Beach is very stringent. Fort Lauderdale, extremely stringent. City of Miramar is stringent, and they use private inspectors. So sometimes you may have a private inspector comes out because the city has subcontracted the inspections. And when that private inspector comes out, he is going, sometimes they know a lot, sometimes they know a little. Generally, they look at the plans, make sure it's right, take some pictures, and pass you, especially if they realize you know what you're doing. The most important point is to know what you're doing and that your site looks like you know what you're doing. Anybody can show up to this site and go, oh, this guy who built this, he knows what he's doing. He has his form boards in. He put the rebar in straight. He tied them down. He made it work. Okay, so that's what this looks like as we go. This is another angle view of that. Also, you need to bring in fill 5 feet outside of your slab. Okay, so just don't think if your slab is 12 by 12, 12 by 22, you only need to bring in 250 square feet of or 250 square feet of dirt. You're actually going to need to bring in, if it's 22, 5 plus 5, so about 32. And if it's 12, 22. You're going to be at 32 by 22. You're going to be around 600 square feet of fill for a 250 square foot build. Okay? It's extremely important to know this. Otherwise, you've just spent more money on dirt and compaction that you don't know. If we have a high elevation, do we have to compact every certain inches? Yes. Typically, on the set of plans, it'll say compact every 6 inches or compact every 12 inches, depending on how high you need to go. Most of the time, we see our 6-inch compaction. So the next thing on here is you're going to, after you pour the slab, that takes 1 day. You pour the slab, it takes 1 day. You let it sit. Pour the slab on Thursday or Friday. Let it sit Saturday, Sunday. Come back Monday. Build the walls. Once you build the walls, there's a few elements of the walls that you need to remember. One, everywhere where you have a window and everywhere where you have a filled cell, you need to keep open the bottom cell. You need to break it open with a hammer. Okay, that needs to be broken open because when you vibrate the dirt as it comes down from the top of your tie beam, as you vibrate the vibrate the concrete, it needs to go all the way down to the bottom. And what that does later is that'll tell the inspector that the concrete got all the way down to the bottom of the filled cell. And that's super key here. So you'll notice in this particular build, we did not have precast lintels. Okay? We did not have precast lintels. This is what it looks like when you fill in those cells. You see, this is pour ready. This is post inspection. And we, after the inspection, that's the reason you know this is post inspection, curiously, is you have those blocks on the bottom. Because when the inspector comes out, he needs to see those things open and that they're clean before that. Okay? Before that. So also, that's what you need to do here. I noticed someone just requested to be a guest. You can do it again. I'll try to bring you in. But you'll also notice here, there's no lintel. There's no lintel. There's no precast lintel because we form the lintel here as one. Okay, so right here, as you see at the top here, this is where the lintel would normally be. And then from there, you have a rebar that goes all the way down on the side and all the way down on each side. And that ties into your tie beam at the top. What that is that is what connects your tie beam and roof all the way down to your foundation. Okay, so we like to pour that all at once as a monolithic pour from the top of the tie beam. And that's what you see here. So here you see, just like on the plans, you have the window here and you have a side door here as well. Okay, so as we go on, let me show you, this is what it looks like when we're in the top of the tie beam. If you can see it, this has 4 rebar in it, and we created a cage. First, we build them on the ground. We put the 4, then we put the stirrups in there, and then we put it in at the top. Let me show you what that looks like on the set of plans, on the detail perspective. So if we look at this detail perspective here, this is what the wall looks like. So you see the wall here, and you see right here at the top, right here, this is the tie beam that you just saw from above. So you have an 8x12 TB, that means tie beam, width, W means width, 4 number 5s continuous at and 2 number 5s 60-inch long corner bars, 30 inches each way, and 4 number 5 ties at 12 inches on center at corner balanced, 48 inches on center. Let me tell you, that might sound very complicated, but it's actually quite simple. What that means in simple terms is, 1, you're going to have the cage like we have here. It's going to be a circle, and you have 4 rebar right here. And then on the edges, you need an L-shaped rebar. You need L-shaped rebar just like this. So this is an L-shaped rebar. And that L-shaped rebar needs to be 30 inches on each leg minimum. And then you just put it right in the edge of the wall. Put it right in the edge of the tie beam. Let me show you what that looks like and where that would be. So if you look here on this page, that will actually be right here. So those overlap rebar go here and then here on every corner, 30 inches. In addition, and what that does is it ties the corners in very well. Ties the corners in like that, okay? So it ties the corner in, holds your building down. Okay? So after that happens, after this tie beam is poured, then we put the roof on. And the roof is just rafters. It's just 2x12s. Boom, 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 boom. Tied in just like it shows on the plans. And the next thing you have is you put stucco and paint. So this is what it looks like when it's done. It's quite simple. We have flashing right here. We have the fascia board. We have HVAC unit on the outside. This is a simple one-room unit. It's about 1,900 BTUs, or no, it's about, yeah, I think it's 1,900 BTUs. It's not that expensive. It's a couple of $1,000. And the unit for it is right in the window above. Let me show you what that part looks like on the set of plans. So if you look here, you see this is there's the window right here, and here you have the HVAC unit. That's the HVAC unit right there. And on the detail for the HVAC, it looks like this here. So you can see that our unit looks exactly like this, and in location, you can see that it is in a perfect spot right here on the side. Okay, So that's where that is. One small thing to note here is that you will be required to put a small concrete pad for your HVAC unit outside. Okay, you can get this pre-purchased. You can get you can get one fabricated and bring it in, or I think it's easier just to form it and pour it and put your wire mesh inside. Okay, so form it, pour it, put your wire mesh inside, and that's the only thing you'll have here. On this, we have a stucco exterior finish. You can remember before it was all block, but now we have a stucco exterior finish. We prime it, we put elastomeric paint on it, and as you can see here, we have the full slab for outside, so they can enjoy themselves and have a barbecue outside later. Elements of this is pretty much as simple as you can get in terms of an ensuite. You don't want to get too much smaller than this. I'll show you what it looks on the inside. It's not that big. Oops, that's not the pages to go. This is the bathroom. So you'll notice on the bathroom that we put glass on the two sides. By putting glass on the two sides and not putting a wall on one side, it keeps it a lot more open. Thank you, Brian. It keeps it a lot more open. It keeps it a lot brighter. A long time ago in the past, they put a wall right there, but we've gotten rid of that. We can just go with the glass. And there's a lot of choices you can have about the glass. This one, they went with a very simple one. And if you notice here, simple vanity. You can get this vanity at Home Depot. You can pick it up today, pick it up tomorrow, about $250. Throw in a faucet, put in a nice mirror combo. You can buy this as a whole vanity mirror faucet combo and put it in. And this is what the inside looks like. All you have is a fan, 4 lights, a closet. This goes into the bathroom, and this door right here is what goes inside the house. This door goes right inside the house. So that is the complete project. It takes about 3 months to complete this project from start to finish, and it takes about 4 months to get this project designed and permitted. So you're looking around 7 to 9 months for any kind of regular build from the moment you start. So the moment you call and say, hey, I want to do an addition, we are not going to break ground on that addition probably for a minimum of 3 to 4 months. More likely 4 months, because your architect is going to take 45 days to do you're going to take 15 days to do the first layout. Then you're going to make some changes. That's going to take another 2 weeks. After that change, then he'll do the MEPs, your mechanical, your electrical, your plumbing. After you get those 3 MEPs takes 3 weeks. Even if you do them simultaneously, because what happens is, even if you get separate people to do them, which is often, but not on a small project, your architect still has to put it all together and get it right. That takes 2 months. Inside that 2 months, in the last 15 days, what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get all your NOAs. Here in Florida, NOA, big deal. So all your NOAs, that's notice of approvals or Florida product approvals. Okay? So you're going to need all your Florida product approvals for this project. Then you're going to submit for permit. At that point, you're at 2.5 months. If all things are perfect, 45 days later, after a single review, you can get your permit. If not, you can wait 6 months. This is just a real scenario. Then you get started and do the build. Ryan builds, will payments be needed? Yes, of course. You have a deposit when you get started. You have a deposit a little bit later after we get the full layout. You don't put all the money up front. You don't need to put all the money up front. You just put a little bit as the portions go, because when you get your permit, that's when we'll take the bigger chunk so we can get started and get rolling. Get your project done in about 100 working days. Okay. So For everybody, thank you for joining the live. It was awesome. If you want to see the live again, if you have any additional questions about getting this done for yourself, how to do it, or some of the processes involved, how often do we go live? I want to go live a lot more often. Today I decided I was going to go live. We'll probably go live this weekend a couple of times. And on Fridays around this time is a good time for us to go live. Okay? So you'll be notified. If you become our followers, you'll be notified about our go lives next. And next I'll do another bigger project. Do I mainly focus on concrete? No, I mainly focus on construction. And that's additions and ground up builds. We also do tenant build outs. Do you have a session somewhere teaching about pricing and pricing tips? I did do a go live on that before. I don't know if it's still available, fundraiser, but we'll talk about that, pricing and pricing tips and what to do. I'll give you a quick pricing tip on these kind of projects. Know that your architect for these kind of projects, you're going to need an architect, an engineer, probably a mechanical engineer, and an electrical engineer. You might need a civil engineer to do your civil work. All those people are not the same person. Your architect, if you buy an architect, he'll hire all the rest of those people. But if not, you'll have to do it on your own. And when you do, you have to be careful. So if you have any questions about that, hiring an architect and what to ask them and the value engineering you can do on the plans while they're doing the design, just let us know. I'd like to thank everyone for joining and have a great day. You can contact us at mattbeth.com or MATTB like boy ETH.com for any of your construction coaching or build needs. Peace out, everybody.